Everybody, this is Audi. You are listening to Modern Retro Radio. Got a special interview that I consider myself quite lucky to have nabbed. This is someone that probably some of you have heard of. If you follow the great YouTube channel, The Real Music Observer, you know who Harmless Dave is. And, of course, to some people, he might not be so harmless, but, people who are allergic to truth tend to they don't like people like that. But we're all about the music here, and we're also all about the truth. And I am so thrilled to be having this conversation with the one and only Harmless Dave. Welcome.
Hey, man, thanks so much for having me. It's a real honor.
Well, we have some things in common. I'm fascinated. Folks, if you go to his YouTube channel, he covers drama and rock music, and that is so right up my alley because I love it. And he has nabbed some really interesting interviews. The one that's blown me away the most was he recently spoke with Eric Clapton, and they covered Eric Clapton's experience with the vajayjay, and we don't censor ourselves here, and of course, and how Eric Clapton actually received hatred for the egregious act of sharing his own personal direct experience. Unbelievable. But he also talks to a lot of key players who might be side players, sidemen. Yep. He did an interview with the woman who was unceremoniously let go from Mickey Thomas's Starship. Fantastic interview, and I just adore her. Please tell me her name.
Oh man, you know what? You just completely put me on the spot.
Oh man,
I'm drawing a blank, and I'm friends with her over on Facebook too. It'll hit me later, brother. But yes, that interview. I was completely taken aback, and I spoke to her, and she was really grateful that
Stephanie
I reached out
Calvert,
to her.
That's her name, Stephanie Calvert.
Stephanie Calvert, thank you so much. See, I'm getting old. I just,
Me too.
It's the brain fog. It's just tough to.
I
get
just
around
turned
it.
52, man, and I'm already seeing the signs. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Stephanie was such a sweetheart, and she was devastated. She was just completely heartbroken by that. And I said, you know what? She's been in that band, I don't know, like 15 years or something. So I said, come on my show and tell your story. And she did.
Yeah, she did.
She didn't hold back at all.
Right.
And, I was a big advocate for Mickey Thomas because the guy he's bionic, I don't understand how he's doing it, but I've since decided that maybe Mickey doesn't deserve my wholehearted support. If you want to go see Starship without Stephanie, that's fine, but that's how I call him, and it's too bad, really.
Yeah, you're right. I am continually amazed at Mickey Thomas's vocal prowess. He is a phenom at his age and still hitting those notes, and you're right, she really embraced that. She did her job. She didn't make you miss Grace Slick, but she had her own personality, and the fans loved her, and she spent time with the fans. And so if the rest of the band didn't like her, that's really unfortunate, but I love her now, and I'm hoping for the best for her. But Dave, let's go and get into it, man, because I don't want to take too much. I don't want to go longer than I promised that we would. So I want to ask my specific questions. First of all, I had to chuckle when you and Clapton were speaking and talking about how the media and online trolls can attack people for simply sharing their own experiences. And you called it friendly fire. And Clapton said, "You called that friendly?"
Yeah.
So.
The whole experience with Clapton was and still is surreal.
Yeah.
I am just a kid from South Yarmouth, Massachusetts, who loved radio at a really young age. And
Me too.
got involved with it, and I don't have your pipes, man. I never had the killer radio voice, but I was persistent and annoying, and eventually I got a job at Cape Cod's #1 radio station, which, again, I don't want to throw the call letters out there because I don't want to get those guys in any trouble. But we did phenomenal things there, and I became a bit disenchanted with the radio business in the 1990s and left it entirely.
What year did you actually leave radio in the 90s?
I want to say it was probably March of 1993.
Oh.
I said goodbye. I was, after my experience at a rock station, I was actually a disc jockey at a top 40 station. And the top 40 station was a lot of fun to do because of the high energy, and it was different for me. It was a little more challenging. But the station format, and you know this from being in the business, the station format flipped from top 40 to oldies on January 1st, 1993. And none of the staff knew it was going to happen, and there was a mass exodus of people, and it was me and an intern who stayed, and everybody else left, and they had a new program director. They really didn't need a program director because it was kind of a canned oldies format, which, again, I learned a lot about music that I love
oldies. I love oldies, but do I really want to hear Beach Boys' "I Get Around" 8 times a day?
Yeah, I mean, they're quick songs. They're 2-minute songs, 3-minute songs, and what happens is you hear them a lot. I heard "Kind of a Drag" like 12 times in one day, and I'm like, this is kind of a drag,
Yeah.
In any event, I lasted about 3 or 4 months, which was longer than pretty much everybody else who decided to leave and find new gigs all over the country, and I wasn't into, transplanting to Tucson or anything like that. So I just decided to leave altogether. I had a job at a music store, which I did for quite some time, and then even worked for a major corporation, which, again, I won't mention, but they sold audio equipment. I did that for, 7 years or so. And, the YouTube thing just was kind of a haphazard. I'm going to upload a video and see what happens. And, here I am talking to Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And the most bizarre thing about that was he reached out to me. He contacted somebody on social media who knew me, and that person got a hold of me, and he's basically saying, Clapton wants to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, sure. All right, whatever, dude.
Somebody in his camp must have vetted you and checked you out, and the rest is history, But if you ever communicate with Clapton again, let him know that a little black boy in Nashville, Tennessee freaking worships him, and when This Has Gotta Stop came out, it was an instant. There have been 2 songs recently that have been instant gigantic hits on our station, and it's because because the names were big, but the message, there's such a hunger and a desire. One was Kid Rock's "We the People," and the other was Eric Clapton's "This Has Gotta Stop." It was #1 for 3 weeks on our station, and it still pops in the top 5 every now and then today. So Modern Retro Radio, we love "This Has Gotta Stop," and it's fantastic. So
yeah. I mean, I've told him and I've told other people that the material that Eric Clapton recorded with Van Morrison and on his own, and then he had another single that came out right before Christmas. And all of those songs, to me, are a continuation of his 90s adult contemporary sound. You want to call it that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. But the lyrics are incredible. The musicianship, as usual. Eric Clapton, whether you like him or you don't, and the reason you wouldn't like him at this point is because you disagree with his views on what our little platform calls The Thing. If you disagree with him on that, then apparently you can't enjoy his music anymore, which is
which is absurd.
Yeah, it is.
It's absurd.
But he's I'll give you a little inside info. I believe Eric is recording.
All right.
As we speak here, and who knows what's going to happen this year. But, what happens in the music business is you can record a song, and then 2 years later it sees the light of day. It's just a very slow process. I mean, Journey's been working on an album for like 4 years, and we're finally going to get to hear it, in June or July or whatever. So, but he is a really amazing guy, Eric Clapton, and this is going to sound pompous. It's going to sound condescending to some people, but I consider Eric Clapton my friend. And it's like I said at the beginning of the conversation, it's totally surreal.
He clearly seemed to appreciate that you were allowing him to have a voice without judgment. It was obvious that he was appreciating that, and that just made me love Clapton more. And I'll just add one more thing about Clapton. One of the reasons that I started Martin Retro Radio almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, was because it just irritated me that, remember when he put out his album Old Sock, which sold pretty well, but the single, Gotta Get Over, should have been all over radio.
Dude, now I know why you wanted to talk to me, because you and I could sit down and we could have a beer about this, and probably we'd close the joint down, because we'd be talking about, hey, remember when this album came out and radio pretended it didn't exist? You know what's even more irritating is when these radio stations and their websites, right, they promote that so-and-so has a new song out.
Yeah.
And I go, and are you guys going to play that new song?
Nope.
Are you going to play it? Nope. Yep. It's too risky. Too risky. Don't want to upset those people that want to hear the same 12 songs over and over again. So it's really weird, man. It's crazy.
It's mind-boggling, and folks, and he's referring to a recent commentary he did on the Doobie Brothers. They have a great new album called Liberté. And they had a single called Easy. And we have been playing a song called Just Can't Do This Alone, which also hit #1 on our top 5. So, and it's as good as anything they've ever done before. So Correct. In fact, it's a return to form for them because, they did the album with all the country guys a few years ago. And they had an album, I think, back in like 2011, which was really good, and nobody touched it. And then even back to like Sibling Rivalry back in like 2000, I'm thinking, okay, nobody's playing that. See, I love that band, and I loved their revival when Tom Johnston came back, and I like Michael McDonald. No offense to those fans, right?
But to have Tommy Johnston back in that band, and when The Doctor came out, I was on rock radio, and our format was already heavily dubified, if you know what I mean. So when that came out, I'm like, holy crap, Batman, this is it.
I remember when Music is the Doctor came out. Yeah, I felt like it was a little too China Grove, so that's why I like what they're doing now. But I was happy to find out. And see, folks, there is a demand for it because their 2014 album actually got in the top 20 with Zero Airplay.
Yeah.
So
Zero. Maybe that's the album I was thinking 2011. But I remember. I can't remember all the names again. I'm having brain fog. And what happens is I'll go find this stuff on my own. I always think I'm on my own, like looking for music on the internet, and it's weird because I'm thinking, okay, I found this amazing song, and nobody is playing it anywhere. Like nobody has any curiosity. They just want to keep playing. Like Hot Blooded by Foreigner, and I'm thinking to myself, there's so much. You can keep playing Hot Blooded. This is my philosophy, and you're a radio guy. So, you may disagree with this, but you can play Hot Blooded still. But how about add a song that kind of is in that same wheelhouse, which is a new song that somebody cruising down the road might want to hear. they might like it. They might not switch.
No, well, what happened is that's the reason I asked when you left radio in the 90s. I was going to speculate that you left maybe like at some point like in the mid to late 90s, because in 1996 Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act, which is the reason that all radio stations and all TV stations and print media are owned by the same 5 companies. So today, when you listen to a soft rock station in Nashville, it's going to have almost an identical playlist to a soft rock station in LA, because it's all coming from the same source. And it's so working in radio, if you love music, it will kill your love for music. But let me just, if I may add one more thing, Dave, because I feel like you're my buddy now. Yeah. Ultimately, the reason that I created Modern Retro Radio was because I am probably the biggest solo Paul McCartney fan you're ever going to meet in your life. And all right, cool. And I've seen him 5 times, and it seems like right when I became a fan in the mid to late 80s, that was when he just completely vanished from radio. His last hit was Spies Like Us, which was a soundtrack to the Dan Aykroyd movie, Chevy Chase. And I was getting irritated because all of Rod Stewart stuff was getting played, all of Phil Collins stuff. Clapton was all over the radio in the 90s, you know. And I'm like, why are they not playing? Because I think Paul started releasing his best stuff from the late 80s on. So, but in the interest of time, I don't want to run out of time. But you already have a standing offer to do this again, by the way. So, all
right, we'll book it. We'll book it, and we'll give the audience a little time to digest this one, and then we'll make them wait. So it's like the next Clapton interview that I might do, right? Just throwing that out there for the folks. All right. We gotta make the fans wait, and then they'll appreciate it more.
There you go. Yes, leave them wanting more. But let me ask you this: where are you on the concert set list issue? How much new material should be in a concert? And I want to, like, say a Prince or a McCartney or a Clapton. When you go to, what is realistic? I have my point of view on it, but what's yours?
Wow. Well, I can let you know. The other night I went to see Journey, and I don't go to a lot of concerts. It's a little expensive, and I am logistically pretty far away from the places that some of these major players go to. And Journey did not play one new song during that set list. Now, as a fan if you're a true fan of a band, if you're a really dedicated, diehard fan of that group,
that's going to disappoint you.
That is a disappointment. They just came out with a new song 2 days ago or whatever, and I'm sitting here going, okay, they didn't play anything. They didn't play the song they released last summer, and they're playing it amazingly safe, almost like everybody is being advised by the same group of people that are running, as you mentioned, like the 5 companies that run everything.
Yep.
It's the same mentality out there. My opinion is that you should be able to handle that as a fan. The problem is we've got the casual fans that are now dominating the concert business, where they show up. They know "Don't Stop Believin'," and they know, "Open Arms" or whatever, but they don't really have a lot of interest in, say, I don't know, pick a deeper track.
But do you think it? But do you think it depends on the artist? And the reason I asked this because of 2 examples. It seemed like no matter what Prince's set lists were, his fans were there because they knew his material, and also he knew how to perform it. Don't just do new material, but make it entertaining. Let's see. Oh, and remember when Clapton's Pilgrim album came out in '98? Yep. If you watch any of those shows, they're on YouTube. The first 45 minutes of the show was all new material, and the crowd loved it.
Right. Well, we're living in different times, brother. We're living in different times.
I know, but see, as a Paul McCartney fan, I'm getting irritated because I know he's getting ready to hit the road here, I think, tomorrow. And if he opens with Hard Day's Night again, I think or Magical Mystery Tour again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know where you're coming from. See, you're like me. You're pretty hardcore. And what I'm going to be honest about here is something that's kind of tough to swallow for people who are either in the music business, a DJ. DJs, right? When you're a DJ and you've got to play stuff all day long, you get bored. You get tired. Yes, this is in our format, but you've heard the whole album and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'd love to, dump on the program director here and throw in this other song. And I used to do that stuff all the time, and I wound up in the doctor's office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people would say, "Hey, Dave, let's give you a little therapy here. We play the hits on this station, and you just deviated from that." So but that's me though. That's the old FM rock radio spirit, which is completely. I mean, you probably have a radio station that does this stuff, right? But for terrestrial radio right now, it's as boring as watching paint dry. You know what I'm saying? So, So to answer your question about just how this works itself out over time, it's going to be less and less daring, fewer chances taken. People ask me this stuff all the time. They're like, "Do you think that they'll ever be a little bit more adventurous with their playlist or with their set list in the case of a live concert?" And I got to tell you, I think it's going to get worse. I don't think,
especially for what they're charging.
Yeah, well, you're mentioning Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
The guy's got too much material. So how do you do that? I mean, you're talking about the late '80s, like Flowers in the Dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, insanely great album. You're not going to hear anything off of Flowers in the Dirt.
Or he's done songs. I mean, now Paul McCartney, he will shock us once in a while. Like he did Temporary Secretary a few years ago. He's done Flaming Pie. He's done Calico Skies. These are songs from the '90s. And when Memory Almost Full came out, so it's not like he completely ignores his solo catalog. My problem with Paul McCartney's concerts is that the last hour of his shows, I've seen it a million times, because the first half of his show, it's interesting if you're a solo fan, but the last hour of the show, okay, here comes Let It Be, here comes Back in the USSR, here comes Hey Jude, here comes Obla Di Obla Da. You know what, and they're great crowd pleasers, but I think he could keep his show just as entertaining with other neglected hits. For instance, there's a song that was a top 10 in the '80s called "Take It Away." He's never done it live.
Oh, dude, that is like the ultimate hasn't been played since 1982 song in the world. That album, when it came out, the critics were like, "This is the greatest Paul McCartney album."
Yeah.
We haven't heard it. We haven't heard it since. I mean, Coming Up, number one song, 1980, the live from
Coming Up has had a good life in his shows. He's done Coming Up a lot, so I'll get.
But Take It Away, that entire period too had a different feel to it, and he's a guy who reinvents himself on every album. Sometimes I like it, sometimes it's irritating, but I understand. He's another guy that gets bored. I mean, like I said, Paul McCartney kind of farts out songs that people wouldn't be able to do in their entire career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether you like Paul or not, you have to acknowledge that he is incredible at melody.
Yeah.
He's incredible at just finding something that someone else hasn't done. And then, sometimes he goes back to the basics. He had an album, I think, came out, what's the song? Jenny Wren.
Oh, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. Jenny Wren is a freaking masterpiece.
Oh, my gosh. I mean...
I don't like that album, but I love Jenny Wren.
Yeah, I mean, but the critics were like, "Oh, wow, Paul's back on his game and this and that." And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, he's been on his game every single album. There are very few albums that, I mean, his 70s output to me. See, I'm more of the 70s Paul McCartney guy. I mean, the song "Letting Go." All right, nobody plays it. I think that the guitar riff in it, the whole atmosphere of the song.
He's brought that back live. He's done that on his most recent tour. So
all right, well, good on him for doing that, because that is a deep track and it's a gem. And but again, we're talking about really a very minority viewpoint on what's happening. And I'm not saying I like it. I'm just telling you that this is where we're headed. Things, as time goes on, you know, there are bands that used to have songs on the radio that they've erased, and it continues because of the 5 companies that you mentioned at the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sometimes there's glimmer of, like Stevie Nicks did her 24 Karat Gold tour back in 2014, and she just released a live album for that. And it was kind of the show that a lot of fans have been wanting. She did a lot of deep cuts from her Belladonna and Wild Heart albums. And so I just wish she would go a step further and throw, you know, Planets in the Universe in there, and I Can't Wait, you know, really, you know, show it, you know, rock them, you know. But before I let you go, I texted you yesterday that I'd watched your Gene Simmons commentary. Gene Simmons, man, I just wish he would shut the hell up. I really do. But something you said that really resonated with me. When people make comments about what's going on with the V and all this, the thing, you know, and all the, and you said that the people who purport themselves to be fact checkers are really opinion checkers. I thought, correct. So well said. I applauded when I heard you say that. Just say a couple of words about that before I let you go.
Well, first of all, don't take your health advice from Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley or really anyone in the rock business. There was a book that came out a number of years by a fairly well-known commentator, and she basically made the point that these people should just shut up and sing, right? Because that's what they're good at. That's what they do. They're not politicians. They're not. They're certainly not medical experts. So it tends to really rub me the wrong way when a guy becomes a music authoritarian in a way that not only is he telling you, for instance, that say, hey, rock is dead. You know that rock is dead, right? Okay, thanks for shoveling the dirt on the format that I enjoy the most. Thank you for doing that, rather than saying, be optimistic. Say, rock is going through a rough period, but it could be back, and we need people to step up to the plate and pass the baton. As I told Jeff Scott Soto the other day, who I interviewed, and I think I said this to him, prior
that's
to
the Journey.
The interview or after the interview.
That's the Journey guy, right?
Yeah, former Journey singer for 11 months, just a beast. Sings for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Has got solo out. The guy's career could wallpaper a house. It's just. I'm serious. It's just amazing. But anyway, I said to Jeff at one point, I said, we've got Rock 1.0, and we're hanging on to Rock 1.0. And what's happening is it's starting to fade because everybody is aging out. People are dying. People can't do what they used to do anymore. And there's no Rock 2.0 ready to take over because the industry itself has focused on hip-hop and rap and bro country and all these things that you're like, okay, this isn't what I like.
Dumb stuff. Well, and also social engineering narratives like whatever the hell toxic masculinity is, that also has influenced the business. But there is rock out there, Dave. But it's all independent. It's like, for instance, the band, you held up their CD recently, Fate. That's the stuff where you're going to have to go. That's where you're going to have to go to find genuine rock.
Yeah, and there's stuff out there too. There's two bands, and Jeff mentioned one of them the other day. Greta Van Fleet. I'm kind of they're okay. They're okay. I mean, if I'm the lead singer's vocal coach, I'm really wanting him to kind of learn to sing. The other band that I really like a lot is Dirty Honey. They are the Aerosmith Black Crowes.
Oh, wow.
Humble Pie. Amazing band, and they broke through using social media. They were an unsigned band, and now I think I'm pretty sure they've opened up for Aerosmith, or they've opened up for some other bands that are kind of in that wheelhouse, and they're amazing because they're what I used to listen to. They're kind of like that bluesy, hard rocking stuff, but they're very listenable and accessible, and not a lot of people know who they are, which is a tragedy. It just like so much. But if you go on YouTube, they've got a couple of videos. They've got millions of views. But again, look, radio, the way it used to be, is no longer.
No.
It's not, and it's not coming back. I keep telling people, unless there's a shift, like you mentioned, if you break up the monopoly and you allow independent, like on YouTube, we've got independent creators. On other platforms, you have the same thing. With radio, there's no imagination. It's just, do what everybody else does. And you mentioned this too. I've got stations near where I live, Fort Myers, Florida. They're basically just satellite channels of the mothership, which is located where? In Los Angeles or in New York, or some guy in a boardroom says, you know what? People really don't know the song Say You Will by Foreigner. They don't know that song. I don't know it. So I'm just going to, tell other stations, or all the network to not play it because, people just can't handle these deep tracks.
Oh, Say You Will? No, I thought, wasn't that like Foreigner's last gigantic hit?
Yes, a major hit.
It was a huge hit.
Opening riff, opening line that is just, catches your attention. Lou Gramm at his peak, and we're going to sit there and say, we really need to stick to Hot Blooded and, Jukebox Hero because, we've heard those songs 10 million times, and God forbid we open up the playlist too much because people are just going to lose their attention span. It's like everybody's got ADD because they've taken too many of those mandated Dr. Little Emperor shots over the last 30 years.
And I used to work with a guy who was a radio veteran, and he said he once worked at I think a classic rock station, and he said their entire playlist, their entire library, was not 500 albums, not 500 artists, but just 500 songs. That was their entire library.
I've got playlists on Spotify that are like 10 times that size. I mean, this is seriously, and this is also an issue. When I first started doing this, I got a lot of pushback from people who had said, "Dave, man, it's 2000 and whatever at the time when I started doing the channel, 2018. Get with the program. There's Spotify, there's Apple Music, there's YouTube Music, there's so many things." And you keep saying, terrestrial radio stinks. Well, this is what you can do. You can make your own playlist. And I'm thinking to myself, but that's not the experience we all grew up with.
Not at all. And
you and I would get into our cool sports car or make-believe sports car when we were younger. And what we would do is we would drive around, find a great radio station, and we would learn. We would learn about the music. We'd have a DJ that would front sell, that would back sell, that would tell us, hey, these guys are going to be playing at this club tomorrow night. And wow, this new song, people are calling in. Phones are lighting up. When do you hear that expression? Because they don't do that. They do public service announcements for the Rotary Club. They go, really? Really? That's all we got is the Rotary Club today?
My music director, Mike B., who I've known for many, many times, and he loves radio the same way. you and I do, and he grew up in that same era that you and I did. And he told me when I started the station that I was doing a great service to these artists, because all you have to do is just listen to Modern Retro Radio for just, a little bit. And you're going to learn, as you said, because we do a new releases segment every week, so we always know what's coming out, and we put stuff that we like in the rotation. And I've had emails from people saying, "Wow, I didn't even know these people were even still recording. I didn't know they were even still a band." And their music is quality stuff. But all right, we're gonna have to do this again. And
absolutely.
And I told you that I wanted you to. We're going to conclude the interview with a request of your choice. I normally ask people to request a song from a classic artist, something kind of recent that they don't know. But I want to. We're going to close the interview with anything you want, anything that you want to conclude this interview right now.
So, like, if I give you a song, no matter what it is, you can play it.
We'll get it. Yeah, we are BMI licensed, CSAC licensed, Stream licensed. Yes, Modern Retro Radio is a very, very expensive hobby for me.
Wow. All right. The late great Brian Howe, who sang for the band Bad Company for a number of years. Okay, he's been kind of focus tested out of existence. Even his mega triumphant Holy Water song, it's no longer on the radio for the most part. When he passed away, I think a few stations around the country broke format and played it. If you could play Holy Water on your station, because it's got this incredible guitar riff, and Brian and Terry Thomas and a few other people helped write that song, and it's just a blistering #1 rock radio song from 1990, brother, and I'd love for you to play that.
And you know what? I'm happy to do it. Speaking, I actually have a Brian Howell anecdote, because one of the things that made me start this station is I was hosting a top 10 show on another web independent station that just played artists who were located in the Southeast. And the owner of the station knew Brian Howell. And I got a shout out from Brian Howell on Facebook back in 2017 for playing his track in our top 10. And I was very sad to hear he had passed away. So, we're going to close with some 1990 Brian Howell. Say the name of the track one more time, Harmless, Dave.
Okay, that's Holy Water, brother, and it's really going to rock your socks off.
Okay. And, folks, we've been talking to Harmless Dave. Please check out his YouTube channel, The Real Music Observer. Great analysis, great interviews, and my new buddy. So, keep it locked here on Modern Retro Radio. Bye, Dave.